Just give me the Z. He said, no. And so you got to get to a place where you recognize that he's doing something to show me that he's my king.
Hallelujah.
And so the literal translation would be, he'll not let you go by hand unless it's mighty. Why should he? He's a king. And you saw Pharaoh. He would harden his heart, and people always get upset with God. Instead of submitting to him, they want to challenge God because God hardened his heart. It is not as if God touched Pharaoh and said, soft heart, soft. No. In order for God to harden somebody's heart, all he had to do is step back. Or if God steps back from any of us, we will turn to the animal that we used to be. It's like clay. Anybody ever worked with clay? Right? When you're working with clay, it's got to be warm. But if you stop and take the warmth from the clay, it automatically hardened. So it was already in Pharaoh. So when God got close to him, he said, all right, you can leave. Take a step back, he started to get hard. That's how it is in our lives. When you're on fire for God, guess what? You live right.
Amen.
God backs up a little bit, you'd be like, oh, I ain't got to pray today. Oh, I ain't got to read today. You start getting cold. Come on. You know, you believe it or not, it happens to all of us. A little leaven, right? A little sleep, a little slumber. And it's just a fact that we have to stay close to him. It means, can you imagine that he's a king? For he's not a king that can't defend himself. You know, like if you went into like Africa or some other place where they have a sovereign and you saw the king, just the king by himself, you would be excited. But if there was a mob coming to get you, you'll look at the king, and if he's some little twerpy dude, you'd probably be like this. I don't know if you're going to be able to live, but I'm going to live. See, that's how it is. See, not with God. See, God is like this. I am a great king. See, he said, listen, I can fight if I wanted to. But the Bible calls him the Lord of hosts, the God of angel armies. He said, you're surrounded by angels, so if a fight breaks out, you ain't got to see. No, I'm trying to tell the truth. Easter's coming and we're going to act religious like everybody else. But why be religious when you can walk in victory?
Amen.
How often are you going to skirt this religious mountain? Easter, Christmas, Easter, Christmas. Come on. Our nation needs a revival. And they need to see that there is a real God. Now look, and during their wanderings, talking about the children of Israel to the promised land, the Lord caused them to dispose of kings along the way. The children of Israel was minding their business. This is the story you got to see. They didn't ask for this. God said, I'm bringing you to a place, I'm making a promise to you. They're slaves. They can't even fight. They don't know how to swim. They can't fight. All they could do is build brick. Come on, you don't train slaves to fight. Because then they would try to overthrow Egypt, so they can't fight. Come on, they can't even swim. So he bring them to the Red Sea, totally depleted of natural strength. But as they start journeying, other nations came out to attack them, and God gave them the victory, and they took their land. Come on, see the story. It was like he promised them land that was already built. Right? He said, I'll give you vineyards that you didn't plant, houses that you didn't build. Why? Because he said, I hate what they do. He said, I'm not raising you up because you're better. He said, because I hate what they do. And they would go on their journeys, and this person would come against them. They get defeated, and they'll take their land. They mind their business. Come on, somebody got to help me. All you did was say to yourself, I'm regular, I'm going to hell, I'm going to have a good time, and Jesus done bust into your life, killed the God of your life, which was you, raised you up as his child, and created all kind of havoc in your life to show how strong and mighty he is. I was fine before I got saved, but once I got saved, you got to remember, before you were saved, you could have a brain tumor. You'd be like, just give me some aspirin. Now a fly can land on your head. Oh, I got an aneurysm. Oh, the devil's going to kill me today with this headache. But when you was a sinner, you stronger than anything.
Come on now.
Now I'm trying to tell the truth. No, I got to go. It's Christmas. We got to leave. So when you're looking at this, you have to understand the person that you call God is a king that refused to see his subjects in bondage. See, Jesus is our Lord. He's our Savior. He will teach you how to walk in love because you're going to have to deal with people. But there are situations that don't play nice. Sickness doesn't play nice. Poverty doesn't play nice.
Yes.
You're going to have to walk in love with people, but you're going to have to deal with these issues that are coming from a demonic source. So look at this. Go to 1 Kings 3:1. Y'all got time, right? 1 Kings 3:1 says this, and Solomon, the wisest man on earth, almost, made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David. Now the children of Israel, from the door, was instructed, have nothing to do with these other nations. I'm going to give you their land. Solomon, the so-called wisest man, says, you know what, I can't fight like my father, but I can sure enough sleep around like he did. Come on. So he said, well, you know what, Pharaoh, come on, let's get in affinity, just give me your daughter. See, right then and there from the door, he is now departing from the Lord. David had no problem subduing his enemies. I mean, he had a lust problem too, so Solomon inherited that from his father. And a lot of times people love David. You know what? If David would have read the Bible, he would have been a better king. Because the Bible told him that a king shall not multiply wives unto himself. And David popping up all over the place. Come on, people. See, that's why you got to be careful when preachers preach about certain characters. You know, get to the root of the character. Don't just bring out their good side. Bring out the whole side.
Amen. Amen.
Like Moses started out, you know, he ended the way he started out. Had an attitude from the door. Killed that Egyptian. He said, by my hand, God's going to bring deliverance. 40 years in the back in the desert still didn't. I mean, it helped a little bit to get him started. But how did he lose his testimony? His temper. He says, shall I bring you water from this rock? And God told him, yo, your brother going to die right there, and you shut up. So we have to understand that as when we were born in sin, that stuff is still trying to creep up. Satan is not going to play nice. He's going to make you think you didn't change. He's going to try to give you he's going to try to make you make an excuse to get in the flesh.
Teach, Pastor. Teach. Teach, Lord.
That's true. Oh, I'm having a bad day. You're not. The Bible said, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. You're having a good day. You want to justify fleshing out? Tell God. Nah, come on, people. So you see, Solomon made affinity. But before that, you know, here's God raising the children of Israel to what? Fear him. Right? When he brought them to the mountain, he said, I want you to see me in a way that you're going to learn to respect me. When God met them, he didn't come playing with them. He said, bring them to the mountain so that my fear might be in them. They saw the lightning, saw the earthquake, and they heard a voice. And he said, don't make no similitude of anything, because God brought you here to prove you that his fear might be in you. You know, and when you look at it, the children of Israel, and this is where being a Christian comes into play. Many people will serve God to the ability you serve. What do you mean by that? Don't everybody have their own will? Yes, but people follow leaders. Amen. You know, when you look at it, I got it over there. Yeah, what's that dude's name? Samuel. The prophet Samuel led the children of Israel. Right? And he got old, and guess what he did? He put his sons in position. And his sons didn't follow the Lord in their father's way. And the people were angry, and they said, give us a king. See, it wasn't because of Samuel. It was because the one Samuel put over the people. And then God still took it personal. And God told Samuel, they have not rejected you, they have rejected me. But then he warned them, he said, tell them what's going to happen once they get a natural king. Come on, it's all in the book. But you see, the children of Israel wanted to be like every other nation because they forgot. Why did they forget? Because the leadership over them blinded their eyes from God. You ever been in a church? Like even in this church, you know, we got pastors, and I'm not perfect. I'm like 90. I'm like Dove, like a Dove soap. Was it Ivory soap? I'm 99.1% perfect. It's just that percentage that you'll get under. And sometimes people put the rule of the pastor over the rule of God. Listen. They might not do it here, but I've heard it done. And I've seen some of you try to play the Pastor Rich card on somebody else. Well, Pastor Rich said. Since when Pastor Rich became God? Well, Pastor Rich said, trying to use me to exude your power over somebody. Come on. Now, if I gave instruction, that's one thing, but don't try to use my name as if I'm a baby God.
That's right. Teach them, Pastor.
And sometimes, teach them? Thou art listening too, I hope. Oh, yes, the wrong. All right, there we go. Deuteronomy chapter 3. Y'all still here? So you see, when it comes to a king, he has to rule by power. And you have to look at your life. Who's in charge of your life? The bad thing about a lot of people in the inner city, they have allowed the government to rule their lives. What they call it, social services, right? Remember when I was living in Harlem on welfare, you know what we used to call her? Miss Welly. Remember that? Well, I don't know if you was on welfare. We was on welfare. We used to call her Wellies. Miss Welly. We was on the Wellies. We gave welfare a name. She was in charge. We got our peanut butter. We all go over there. Our shopping cart, get them cans of peanut butter and ham, which you now buy in the store called Spam. It was Kennedy meat. Y'all wasn't born back then, but I was. It saved us, man. We were strong. We had real cheese. You just couldn't go to the bathroom for a while, but what happens is when people feed you like a dog, you will give them loyalty. That's right. So many people in our nation have loyalty to the wrong source. There's nothing wrong with getting help, but that is not your source. God is your life. God is your source. Hopefully. Deuteronomy 3, look at it says, verse 1. Then we turned and went up the way to Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, to the battle of Israel. And the Lord said unto me, fear him not, for I will deliver him and all his people in his land into thy hand. And thou shalt do unto him as thou did unto Sihon, king of the Amorites. See, God desires you to rule. Yes. Come on, people. Yes. If you're saved and born again, he can now trust you. Yes. Hallelujah. See, what the problem is, many of us want to rule by our own hand. Yes. We want to take from people saying that God did it. Yes. Come on now. My Lord. I'm out of time. Yeah, I'm trying my best. Nah, let's keep going. All right, yes, he will. Now watch this. Go with me real quick to Luke chapter 9. Hallelujah. Well, let's do Luke 19. Because I think you're all hearing it. And you need to look at your life and see where you're not in dominion. Amen. Okay. All right. See where you're not in dominion. Get God in that area. Yes, Lord. That's good. Thank you, Father. And don't just think God's going to give you rule if you're lawless. Yes. Jesus. Why should he? I mean, look how the cults pop up. Every cult comes from a church. They have to have a source where Satan can get a hold of them. Come on. So why should God give you rule and you're not under his authority yet? Jesus. Teach it right. That's like a lot of men want to get married. Come on, how you going to get married and you can't rule? You got to be able to go to the grocery store and rule. You got to pull out your wallet and say, bam, I want this cheese. Bam, I want that chicken. And that woman go just like, oh, that's my king right there. He laying down the money on that table. I'll follow him anywhere.